late game and they lose to one engage. So
you're notably referencing that CJ game where they took a couple of Barons, had 5th Dragon stacks, and just couldn't find a way to win. That's kind of been Jin Air's problem recently, is that closing out games, whether it's side minion control, whether it's just breaking the base, they've struggled.
They have. So Rumble and Ezreal, our first 2 bans for KT. Apparently Nagne doesn't want to play that. There's the Azir against Nagne, maybe wanting to force him onto a Victor. Kuzan, we haven't seen a lot from this guy in the current meta. 3 Azir games, but he also played LeBlanc and Lissandra and Cassiopeia, champions that are not really high priority anymore.
I'm excited to see him again in another high-pressure environment. When he played against SKT, he actually did very well against Faker and Lane. So I was kind of wondering how he would do with an extended run in the team. No guarantee we're going to see that, but starting him against KT in what is a very important match in terms of the standing is at least a vote of confidence for Kuzan.
Yeah, certainly is. So Annie will be banned against Che, pretty common ban even before Annie was meta. Ryze rounds out our bans in this game. KT has a lot to choose from. They could go for the Gragas, they could go for the Alistar, they could go for the Victor. No Nidalee ban for the first time in a while, actually, against Jin Air.
Very pointed edge to Nagne's champion pool most of the times. Not really known for really throwing in a lot of champions. The Victor he hadn't done a lot of winning on, so I don't mind him giving that away. GBM's actually played a wonderful Victor. I think Kuzan's maybe 1-0 on that champion.
He's never played it professionally.
Oh, wow, so it's not even one that he's shown. He has, I believe, 4 unique champion wins and then a couple of losses on the Azir to round out that first victory. So he's going to consider taking away the Victor. It's a lot open, though, so how do they actually answer this first pick Gragas? I mean, you don't need to feel pressured to pick up the Rek'Sai. Definitely a lot of jungle options available.
Yes, to be sure. And, you know, interestingly, there are so many Rek'Sai bans against Jin Air. They actually hold a 30% ban rate of Rek'Sai against them, because if you give Chaser a lot of information in the early game, he can really run circles around you. So it can be a bit risky to go ahead and take that, but we will see the Victor and the Alistar locked in. Expected picks when the jungle no longer that priority.
I mean, you only need to look back to that series against Sponu where there was that game where Chaser was all over catch with Rek'Sai, just killing him in his jungle. It was
that was
rude.
Yeah.
So Chaser can present many different questions, whether it's the Nidalee for the high damage ganking threat, whether it's the Rek'Sai for the CC threat. If we see a Maokai come through, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Nidalee because it makes it more reliable. KT, very early rotation Cogmore potentially coming through.
Yeah, we've just seen it over about the last week and a half rise dramatically in terms of priority in the pick phase. So Jin Air, they like to run kite comps with Victor. They like to run Victor, Sivir, Nidalee. That has been a real solid comp for them this season. It was a comp that they wrecked CJ with.
4 warding totems?
Yeah, 4 warding totems with this one. Whether they will play it with Kuzan, who tends to be more all-in than GBM, is a bit of a question. Early Cassiopeia, actually, for Nagne, so we talked about that not being a big priority pick, but it is going to come through here.
This is a really weird stat that I pulled, Monte Cristo, and I also think of Kuzan as more of the attempting to be lane dominating, more aggressive of the mid laners, but when it comes to GBM and Kuzan, they are third last and last on percentage team damage in the league. So the mid lane has certainly not been a high source of damage for this team. Honestly, when GBM's playing the likes of his 20 KDA Lulu, they probably look the best there. But when he's playing the high damage threats, it hasn't worked out for them.
Well, they're just a team that, I mean, sure, Chaser can add what he can from the jungle, but
he can have the last pick as well.
Yeah, he's going to get that last pick.
Although
well, it's probably the Echo, actually.
Probably.
It is the Echo. I don't think Trace is going to be playing top lane Echo in this game.
The dream.
So, but this is another kite composition coming in. Well, they have pretty good engage with the Alistar and the Echo too, but just the way Jin Air tends to play team fights is backwards.
So to someday go against his carry nature and just take the Maokai so that the lack of backline threat is palpable, because they have the Sivir, they don't really have good options to lock down the backline. If they take Maokai here, how are they going to deal with this Cogmore?
Yeah, I think you should definitely take the Maokai because it forces Trace onto a different champion. And when he doesn't have Maokai or Rumble, he plays Hecarim or Gnar. Hecarim, he's not actually very good at, honestly. He misses a lot of ults. He has a hard time setting it up. And because he's a low economy top lane, it delays the Hecarim power spike because he's never the guy who gets the money to buy the Trinity Force.
The risk I see, I very much like the comp that it looks like KT have assembled. If you plug and play the Victor for the Cassiopeia, we've seen this Victor versus Cassiopeia matchup go horribly wrong for the Cassio, especially if she loses her turret early. And we're expecting high pressure to come out of Chaser because that's just the name of the game from him as a player. We've got good wave clear coming from the bottom, good wave clear in the mid. Man, this would be a different pick for Trace, but maybe it's necessary.
Well, Trace wasn't always this way, right?
Wasn't he a big Rengar player
Yes.
once upon a time?
He used to be a very hyper-aggressive top laner. There used to be that kill potential for him, and maybe it's not going to be probably the Rek'Sai. I would be extremely surprised. Trace just having a laugh right there on your screen, and okay, it's like maybe I was wrong. See the Nidalee flashed over, but honestly, split push Rek'Sai wouldn't actually be that bad in the top lane. It's been a while since we've seen it, but it would fit Trace's playstyle.
They would have exactly zero backline threat with that.
It's true, but he does play it in solo queue.
Well, it's no grouping ever if they do lock in the Rek'Sai. We've seen Samsung Galaxy try to run that comp, but no, they're going to shy away. The Rek'Sai would have been avoid team fights, take down structures. Nah means it's team fight time.
It is, and for a team that, as I said, likes to kite, this one's all in. You have the Alistar now, you have the Echo and the Gnar, the huge front line to complement the Victor and the Sivir engage. KT, though, they've got a lot of ways to stop this. Petrifying Gaze, they've got good peel with the Gragas Maokai and Thresh. It's going to come down to frontline damage. And fact is, KT is going to have better 5v5 team fighting late thanks to the Kog'Maw. So essentially, both of these compositions in the late game are just going to be running at each other, and it's entirely dependent on who kills whose frontline first.
To me, the big irony of Monte Cristo is that KT are running a comp that Jin Air are running a comp that KT was kind of monopolizing. They love these Sivir engage comps. That's why we called Arrow Scuttle Crab. It's amazing to see them morph from the all-in, only win with the Sivir Hecarim comps to this peel for the hyper carry. Arrow going completely opposite in terms of AD carry identity from the Sivir to the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm wondering if he's too over-reliant on that because Arrow, probably out of all the AD carries in this league, has the fewest games on Corki, and he just hasn't been able to use that champion at all. And when we've seen it, it hasn't been pretty. But we'll see if he can pull out another win on Kog'Maw. KT looking for their 4th straight best-of-3 win. Let's get into the game.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Welcome to Game 1. KT Rolster versus the Jin Air Green Wings. Playoff implications galore in this match as Jin Air finds themselves currently in 6th place, although they haven't played as many matches as some of the other teams, as Nagne will seduce you.
Slither around.
Are you seduced, Papa Smithy?
Oh, you know, a little bit.
I see how it is.
We'll see how this mid lane matchup goes. Again, Cassiopeia had no luck whatsoever in this same exact matchup. I believe it was SKT versus Ku is when Ku opted into the Cassiopeia, got bossed around by Faker's Victor, and just became a non-factor when her turret went down early. Well, that's probably not going to happen in the same manner here. Of course, Chase is going to find it harder to gank a Victor lane because it doesn't have the instant CC, but there's the possibility, and it feels like if you lose that mid lane pressure, Cassio just can never hold a candle to the instant line wave clear of a Victor.
Yeah, that's a big concern, I agree. And this is one of the reasons why we've seen less Kassadin and Cassiopeia here in Korea, is that the Korean teams are very good at bullying you out of lane, taking your turret, and then Cassiopeia just never actually hits a power spike. You have to have that tier. You have to have the Abyssal Scepter as you build in there, and we see the ward going down. We're going to see an attempt Death Ray steal here, as there are only 2 saplings.
Gets one of them, and the second one goes to the poison. Okay, so most of the experience going through to Nagne. I've got good news for you, Monte Cristo. Guess who loves to build a little bit tanky with a Tia, maybe a Rylai's and Eliandry's? It's Cassiopeia, so she's back next.
Hello, Pickaboo. What are you doing here? And that is a level 1 gank Flay. Goodbye, Kuzan. Oh, jeez. That was so brutal. I wasn't even watching for that, Papa Smithy. Pickaboo, you are a dirty, dirty roamer. These are the tricks he used to pull back on Xenix. And just coming into the lane swap, they expected Peekaboo to maybe be warding at that brush, but they didn't expect him to just show up with a flay.
It's the oldest trick in the book. Peekaboo, I see you.
Oh, didn't see him until late, though. That's the deadliest game of Peekaboo.
And what's the better time than to gank the new mid laner, the young rookie who's just playing one of his first games?
Oh, my.
He'll never fall for that again.
That is actually hilarious. Wow.
Also, really effective.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to go for a little cheese, Papa Smithy.
Peekaboo is a master of the cheese.
I mean, they didn't even have to burn a summoner besides exhaust. Kuzan didn't even bother to flash because he knew he was just dead to rights.
He cleansed, I think.
Yeah, he did cleanse. That was about it. So score now, starting to invade because there's nothing Kuzan can do about this. Chaser going to have to get out of there. He's going to actually, time winds his way out of that. There's a flash. Oh, geez. Chaser, if he had eaten that hook, he had to flash right there. But there's another summoner spell. Burn, KT going hard out of the gates here. They're now turning their sights onto Trace, but Che already under that turret. And this is where we saw things go very badly for Catch against Score.
Peekaboo and Score working so well together. It's a treat to see, because remember, bossing around Catch. Okay, Catch not covered himself in glory this season. Chase has been one of the MVPs of this league. He's right up there, top 5 in MVP voting. And he's getting bossed around by this new Score Peekaboo duo.
Well, what is he supposed to do right there? That was the way he started the jungle pathing, he had to go into that top side to get his second buff just because of how it worked out. And at that time, there was just so much freedom. We also saw the Maokai go down into the bottom side early, and Peekaboo's still going aggressive. Hello, Flay.
There's so much information on the top side jungle. Chase level 2 only, still fairly tanky, high health, so won't die. The trade going the advantage. See Chaser pushing into mid, getting some damage on Nagne.
Yeah, Kuzan has no mana though, so they can keep doing this. Kuzan very, very low, does slow Chaser down, and they're going to turn this gank around with some nice twin fangs.
Yeah, they wanted to change target onto Chaser, but just wasn't able to do that. Chaser didn't have flash, so it would have been fairly easy pickings, but body blocking from Kuzan unfortunately ends up in him losing, what, 3 or 4 health potions? And
guess what?
The
Score's
invades
still
are not
here.
done.
This is just, oh my. Score just having a duel over the Wolves. He has to be careful. Victor could get through to this. Chaser losing out. Parallel Convergence is down, but Score's not going to walk in there for the stun. Stuns the Wolves with a reset. Meanwhile, Someday is also in the jungle. KT. Oh my, this is a very aggressive League of Legends.
And we finally get the answer to the oldest question in the book. Who chases the Chaser, Monte Cristo? It's Score.
It is. Well, it's also very safe what KT is doing. They're just playing so well as a team. I mean, we talk about this early game. That gank in the mid lane, Someday got into lane very early too, so he has a CS advantage and a level advantage because they knew that Chaser was going to be coming up to that top side. He could just walk down there, and Alistair had already switched it up.
Still really heartening to see one smart play from Peekaboo leading to another smart invade, leading to a nice pressure, and we saw almost complete vision of multiple camps in the top side, meaning that Peekaboo could play so aggressive even in the 2v2 lane. Layers upon layers, usually an exciting thing for an analyst to see.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't expect this KT to come out tonight, Papa, because this looks much more like the KT we saw early in this season. I know when you came to Korea, you were saying, wow, I really like watching KT. They play so smart. And then somehow they sort of lost that along the way somewhere. But this is the kind of play that they were demonstrating towards the end of spring season and the beginning of summer.
I don't know if that's, again, the Peekaboo Score synergy that we talked already so much about, but...
Oh my, geez. Tracer's going to get grabbed and flayed, and they have to knock him back, the Kog'Maw back with the headbutt. Trace, not taking too much damage there.
Civ has been getting solo experience. Captain Jack versus Someday in the bottom lane, so we don't get the 1v1 matchup between Maokai and Na, which honestly, that's the advantage for KT. You know, it's a very difficult laning matchup until you can get maybe a Catalyst or a bit of armor built up, maybe a Glacial Shroud. But once you get enough tankiness to shrug off some of the damage, much more manageable for KT.
You know the craziest thing is Peekaboo is 2 levels ahead of Che right now.
That's a lot.
I don't even know how he did that.
But it's because every time he went somewhere, something happened. They contested a buff, they got a gank off, etc. His roams, he was always picking up experience, whereas Che's been on the back foot all game.
Yeah, Che's now level 4, but there was a brief period of time where it was 5-3. So where are they going to go now? Chaser just heads back to the enemy red buff. They
Okay.
think they have him bottled up. This is dangerous
No
from
flash?
Chaser. There's no flash, as you said. Here comes Score. He's going to check it. Chaser has to leave. He can't stay here. He may die anyway. He's going to try and just phase dive over the wall. I'm not sure that's going to actually save him, as there are the Twin Fangs. The lockdown is here. Someday, Arcane smashes him into the ground for another kill. This is all going south for Jinair.
And the stats package shows that their top lane narrowly going to lose in terms of CS at 10 or gold at 10. Mid lane also going to be a losing lane. It's usually the jungler that picks up the slack, and it's the jungler that's been targeted out by KT Rolster.
Well, this game plan early, certainly doing a lot of favors for KT. They find themselves up 1.5K at only 8 minutes into the game.
That's many patches ago, many moons ago, that might have been a common occurrence, but with the lack of global gold opportunities, that's just massive, massive bullying by KT Rolster in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So blue buff will be handed over to Kuzan. And same thing happening on the opposite side of the map. Nagne will grab his blue. Nagne got that very early Negatron cloak, so he's not going to have as many problems in lane and getting poked out by the Victor, because he got that first blood, and now he has another assist to help him in terms of his finances.
But the lane control that's offered by your jungler just being so far on top of the enemy jungler, this can't be a Victor that just wave clears and tries to auto-attack the turret and get in the face of the Cassiopeia. Kuzan has to respect the fact that Score is all over Chaser, all over his jungle, all over the mid lane, and he has to expect Score to respond before Chaser, because Chaser's so far behind.
Yep, absolutely. And Score just translating that advantage into a red buff. Very safe take right there. Nobody in the top side. Pink ward down. Clean red buff steal, and now they think that Maokai's gone back. Remember, that's what they think right now. So someday just going to wrap around. It's going to be a surprise gank. They're not going to get it off, as they will lead, but they're going to lose a pink ward and the Raptor, as Chaser's jungle is closed in on once again.
Chaser's jungle. Which one's that exactly, Monte Cristo?
Yeah. Doesn't even have one anymore.
I think he gets a wolf camp once in a while.
Yeah, that is. Well, we're back into standard lanes at the moment. Hex Drinker is first for Trace, so at least he's going to be able to harass in the top side. He didn't fall behind, unlike his teammates, but someday still a kill up.
Yeah, building for team fights rather than for lane. You know, Glacial Shroud would have been probably the more selfish laning choice, but it's going to be building towards the righteous glory. Health and sustain still going to be very useful against the very irritating chip damage harass coming through from Trace on the Gnar.
Okay. Turning to lane now.
Uh-oh.
There's a parallel convergence. It's going to come through, but the phase dive doesn't activate it. Lantern will take him out. Chain misses his pulverize, and here come the TP. Score's already there on the rebound. Arrow has the exhaust down onto him. He's going to have to flash for that, but they do pick up Captain Jack as they target him with the teleport, and Gnar just unable to do anything. Chrono Break not going to save Chaser, but the phase dive will. But the hook over the wall. Peekaboo following it up. Nagne low. Nagne gets a summoner heal. Uses that.
Here
They're going to keep trying chasing. Here comes another hook out of the black. Flay over the wall. Hook. Nope. Just flash from Peekaboo.
Peekaboo decided they were going to win this game, and they were going to win it quick, because he has dictated 11 minutes purely off his own back.
Peekaboo has come out so strong since his movement to KT. He's back with his own Zenix lane, his old Zenix lane partner, Arrow. They've worked out the kinks. He's operating so well with Score. But you look at this synergy, and it's hard to point to a better jungle support synergy over the second round robin than these two guys.
In recent performance, I think you have to say it. So we're going to see the replay. It looked like it was going to be bad times for Arrow, but
Jay
first
missed
hook.
the pull too. That's really bad.
And then Score comes in, he's over-leveled. He has the items on top of the Echo as well. Maokai means that Captain Jack's the first to go down, and they just don't have the damage to get down Arrow, even though he's down to 400 health at one point in this fight. But the predictive hook.
Look at that petrifying gaze too. If Jinair turns away from that, they turn into the rest of the team, so there's no chance to really dodge it out. Then Peekaboo, the patient, flay over the wall, and he just was going to wait right there. I don't know why he flashed.
And then Trace, you could see him frustrated. Remember, he was on 90 rage most of that fight, could never make anything happen, didn't even transform into Gnar, and watched 3 members of his team die despite expending his teleport.
We were talking about this before the badge pop in Smithy, but you know, we were kind of expecting KT to win this one coming in. And you said, what'd you say?
I said the KT are going to dominate Jin Air, 2 sub-26-minute wins, instill false hope, and get smashed by SK Telecom. And you know what? It's looking pretty good so far.
You're nailing it, at least in game one.
This game has just been taken away from Jin Air and taken away from Chaser, and this is the guy they rely on, and he's behind in items, he's behind in stats. Levels he's actually caught up on.
Nope.
But he's going for speculative plays.
Well, at this point, I mean, he knew how far behind he was. You can criticize him from going into that red buff and dying and all that other jazz, but at a certain point, you have to at least try to make plays.
Sure.
Because otherwise, you know how the script plays out. If you play it out normally, then what happens is you just die. Because Score and Peekaboo are never leaving your jungle. You'll never get experience. You're going to fall behind. Chaser's going to get bodied here. Exploding Cask. Oops. Hook misses. And Score lanterns. Oh, man, there's the play. And Chaser gets out with the chrono break, but eats a twin fang to his demise.
And who stands up when Chaser is basically court-martialed out of this game? I don't think there is anyone on Jin. We already discussed Trace. He loses lane in terms of gold, but he doesn't die, but he loses lane well. He does the right thing for a tank top laner. Kuzan and GBM, they don't take over games and carry. It's all about Chaser. Captain Jack's just new in the lineup.
Well, Captain Jack actually does do a large amount of the damage, but what is he supposed to do in this situation? He can't 1v5 the enemy team. When they have a Maokai, when they have a Gragas, ways to disrupt him, and Nagne's going to take away Jin Air's blue, and their own is up right now. I don't see Chaser being able to get back there. The pink ward is still at his red. Peekaboo is just going off.
Has Chaser gotten a red this game? I don't believe so. This might be his first.
I think it is.
So,
I think it is.
Yeah, Gragas freshly shopped, so not going to be in position to take it away. The pink ward actually going to give them exact timer, so maybe the next one's going to be a possibility, but Chaser dealing with scraps.
Yeah, and you don't care if Chaser has a red buff when he's 0-3-0.
Nope, you don't care at all.
There's not even a good way to set him up besides the Alistair, really.
I mean, the lanes, it's not... Remember, when we saw Echo and we praised the comp going through in CJ Enters, think about the lanes we were talking about. We're talking about Twisted Fate Maokai. And Maokai Echo have excellent synergy because, again, targeted route into the parallel convergence stun, into death, usually. Speculative to try and gank a Gnar lane, very difficult to coordinate your CCs. The Victor, again, Cassius not going to sit in the gravity field. Only really bottom lane is a possibility, and the last time he tried that, he died.
Yeah, very bad situation now. It has been all game, but that lead keeps growing and growing and growing, now up to 4K. Kog'Maw's Trinity Force is done here at 15 minutes. They have some free time down on the enemy tower. Nagne is forcing Victor out of lane. And are they going to get this? Lantern's there. And it'll be taken out. Thresh grabs Arrow right after the tower kill. Nagne starting to get some nice tower damage of his own. And here comes Score. Oops. Raptor buff runs out. Sad times.
The thing that people need to understand about this game, you need to rewind to Peekaboo, because Peekaboo's the one who won them this game. Getting that gank off at level 1 opened up the ability to counter jump, because of course, how can Kuzan react with no cleanse, with under-leveled situation after dying at level 1? That just, basically the flow-on effect of Peekaboo's smart move at level 1 is what has allowed KT to just completely dominate 16 minutes of this game.
And honestly, you have to wonder with Peekaboo, what happens in a world where Peekaboo isn't injured and he actually plays for SKT, because that is terrifying.
Well, did you see much of him last season? Because of course,
yeah, he played well. He wasn't at this level, that's for sure.
What percentage of playing time was he getting?
Very small, very small.
So maybe they were working him into the lineup, and then the injury forced their hands in a lot of ways. I know you were skeptical the moment they announced that he'd be coming out to this lineup. You're like, but Fix is not bad. Fix is a decent support. What will Peekaboo bring?
Wrong.
We found out what Peekaboo brings.
Well, I didn't know that Peekaboo would immediately transition into a major shot-calling member of this team.
And also, best buddies with jungler Score, and of course, jungle support synergy. We just look back to last Worlds, how important that can be, because their vision level from 3 weeks ago to now, it's upper echelon after being one of their big problems.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, Fixer definitely a decent support, and you're right, I didn't see the major upside to that, but there were things that I couldn't have known too, like how well he would get function with Score, and also, like I said, his shot calling abilities. I talked to him, and he said, he told me it was rough for a month, but after that, he and Score really are the shot callers on this team, and so with him bringing that in and seeing the improvement in KT's macro play, it is night and day.
I think it's nice. I'm sure SKT's happy for him because, of course, they have a support who's been performing in Wolf, who's been very consistent since kind of a sidestep against Anarchy, and now Peekaboo getting his chance to shine and shining bright.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Trace is doing some good chip damage to this top lane turret, and they are going to take it. Chasers here on the flank. Someday in a bit of trouble. Has to flash out of the parallel convergence. Can they actually get him, though? Gotta get the stun. Gotta get the chilling smite into the wall. So Someday in a bit of trouble right now. Is just going to arcade smash. Wow, he's just too tanky. They can't kill him. There's no damage.
No items on Chaser. It's only an Alistair to help for damage. Only really provides CC, and at the same time, they're going to lose Dragon and potentially a couple of kills.
Yeah, we'll see. Someday can come in with the TP if he needs to. Victor's here, but they're not going to go for it. But in the end, what does Jin Air get? They can't even take out the turret.
Well, I mean, what did KT get? They get the Dragon, they chase out in top, and hey, they're going to get the mid turret probably too.
Yeah, that is... Oh boy. I mean, you got to go for something if you're Jin Air, right? Try for a gank onto the Maokai. Unfortunately, they didn't have Captain Jack or Kuzan there to actually finish it off, and here comes Arrow.
He's scared.
He shouldn't be scared. There's no gravity field right now.
Well, that's gold, not in the pocket.
Peekaboo's going to go up and auto it like a boss.
He's thinking about it.
I guess they'll just have to wait for one more wave. He definitely could have just walked up.
So we felt really good about Jin Air about a month and a half ago. Feeling pretty good about KT right now.
Well, the meta's changed, right?
Sure.
That's one of the things we have to talk about is when Jin Air is at a point in the meta where they don't have to have that much invested in their top lane, they come out strong. We think about when Jin Air was strong in spring and earlier this season, they were playing a lot of poke compositions. What their specialty is kiting at objectives, and they pulled it off, but that isn't such a viable strategy. Or it's still viable, but it's no longer as dominant as it was.
I think you throw in Nidalee. This comp could have worked, but the Nidalee was available. That's the crazy thing, is the Nidalee's been almost a perma-ban given their proficiency with the poke comp and not selected.
I'm with you on that, Papa Smithy, but I think if Jin Air can't play this composition that they've been given, there's something very wrong with the team.
But can you say they can't play it given that this game
That's
turned
true.
at level 1?
That's true. Yeah, that this game was all about the jungle invades, and Jin Air hasn't had any kind of breathing room.
Can Jin Air win a game where Chaser does poorly? I think the answer is no.
I tend to agree with you.
If you have lanes that lose the minimum, then it should be your jungler that profits from that, whether it comes to communication or positioning. But if your lanes lose the minimum and your jungle falls behind, there's no one to carry.
Score just stole the Krugs. What a jerk. He had the burst, too, from his keg and the smite. There's not really a chance for Chaser to take that.
I mean, at this point, 6,000 gold lead almost, 5,500, I believe. How's my maths looking? About 5,500 gold lead. Looking for the last of the outer turrets. Captain Jack has excellent wave clear, though, so it'll take a couple of, or maybe it won't. Maybe they'll just Peekaboo's go take it. Easy peasy.
Yep, had the lantern there just in case. Head back out right now.
Still not sure which one is Chaser's jungle.
Well, KT decided that he didn't get to have a jungle this game, unfortunately for him. But I praised KT's ability to snowball against Spenu when we saw that and how dominant Score was. They did drop the ball in the second game, but KT is a team that these days, if you give them this much control early, they know how to run with it and punish you to the maximum possible degree.
And maybe we should temper our excitement because SK Telecom will not give them this early game.
That's true.
But Peekaboo, I mean, he did something no one would have expected. He did something that you see maybe once in a while in solo queue, maybe in a scrim, but in a competitive game, just hanging out of vision and getting the level 1 kill won in this game. So the next game, probably not going to be such the level of shenanigans. Can KT shine so bright 2 games in a row?
Well, it was such a foresight for him to do that too, because there have to be specific conditions that are met, right? You have to have the lane swap. You have to ward their buff and realize that they're not on that side of the jungle so you can pull it off, and then you just go for the surprise play, because usually these days it's just playing with the meta. right? Because the standard lane swap in Korea is somebody freezes, the AD carry will freeze, and the support will try and roam and disrupt the jungle pattern. So if you're jungling on your strong side, well then Peekaboo can make a play like that onto your mid lane. If you're jungling on your weak side, well then it's pretty standard and expected. So he's kind of taken it one step further down the line.
And the opportunity cost was so low. Like there was nothing that they. If the gank hadn't come off, he would just walk to lane. They would have lost nothing out of it. Just because, as you mentioned, Jin Air were playing the standard playbook, and KT threw it out, did something different, and profited to the degree that it snowballed a 6,000 gold advantage.
Yeah, he didn't even have to get the first blood there. Like you're saying, if he gets a summoner out, even if he just gets damage out, Nagne is in a much better position.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is that because they got the kill, by the time Victor came back to lane, they were contesting a buff, and he was so far behind in experience that he kind of had to pick up the minions. So even though he had the shortest distance to contest the jungle invade, he couldn't. So it really, really helped in that particular regard. Jenna trying to get their turret finally, but multiple members from KT and a quick Peekaboo coming.
Yeah, Peekaboo use that, but gets it spell shielded. Quite obvious. The telegraphed death sentence, but the dragon up in 40 seconds. And
2 turrets though. That's some global gold.
Yep. Trace did a very good job of just methodically picking away at that objective. He's going for a fast ball of Malmortius. So interestingly, Jin Air's answer to this is going to be split push with Gnar, which is actually smart because that's about the only thing they can do.
It probably will be the more now that I think about it. Of course, Frozen Mallet does build out of the pickaxe, but just given the itemization required against the team, more is probably the most immediate power spot.
Yeah, and also a way that they could at least have pressure onto one lane with this Maokai, who hasn't been building. I mean, he's getting a Frozen Heart now, but there it is. Okay, well, it's done. That does make things harder.
Considerably. So there's been no kills whatsoever for Jin Air this game. 24 minutes in again, another low kill game, but it's because KT have just been completely on top of this game from moment one. That's the teleport.
Uh-oh, Chaser in front. There's the Silverold pop. He's going to get onto Captain Jack, but it is spell shielded. Still the Arcane Smash ripping people out. There's the Parallel Convergence. Does get Someday, but he gets out of the Lantern all the same. So attempted an engage, but no one actually dies as Jin Air able to play that defensively. They also get the angle onto the turret. So can KT, looks like they just want to come in from behind. They're going to all in right here. And here comes the Petrifying Gaze. Huge Petrifying Gaze from the Flash. And now Trace on the outside. Kuzan going to get hooked somehow. And here comes Arrow just waddling through the team fight, picking up kills. Trace is going to be caught up by Someday and Peekaboo again. The CC train is just never ending. Another hook. And here we go. Twisted Advance play, the works, and Peekaboo grabs the kill. What a beautiful engage from Nagne with the Flash Petrifying Gaze, and that's going to be a Baron.
I mean, they've got the Blade the Ruin King on Kog'Maw already. Nagne has so much damage. Okay, doesn't have a lot of mana, but it's not going to matter. There's no need to peel off and fight anyone because everyone's dead. 10-0 is a score. Not a perfect game because turrets have come down, but everything else, man, what a KT performance.
Jeez. Utterly dominant. And this Jin Air team is the one, they've come the closest to beating SKT out of the top 6 teams in a game. They had an inhibitor down on SKT. Let's take a look at this one again.
So it was a nice idea from Jin Air, given how far behind they were, but the Petrifying Gaze registered on, including Captain Jack, which is probably just a mechanical mistake. Not sure how Kuzan got hooked, but after this, just watch. You can see Peekaboo chasing away the only threat to Kog'Maw, and Kog'Maw free autoing.
This is why we see this Thresh banned against Peekaboo, because the work he does in these team fights is incredible. And Peekaboo takes the last kill. Jack, the only one left alive. And here comes the pressure. Jin Air already having to retreat off their mid lane tier 2.
I think Kog'Maw, fast approaching ban status. He has the highest win rate of any champion with over 10 picks. And while you might be skeptical, no one's willing to play these backline dominant champions barring the Maokai. If you don't get the Maokai, there's just no way to deal with them. How many team fights in consecutive games have we seen where a Kog'Maw waddles along, no pressure on him whatsoever, free autoing?
Yeah, there was no threat onto Arrow. He was just in the middle of the composition too.
He's the highest damage AD carry with the long range, and no one whatsoever forcing him to back away.
Well, here we go. Another minion wave. Another tier 2 inhibitor down now in the mid lane. KT pressing forward. Well, Papa, it's going to be 27 minutes at least. I'm sorry.
Well, my heart was in the right place, apparently.
And going to keep on going, it would seem. Gravity field down, but Arrow We'll take that tower down by about a quarter. Still working on it.
The wave clear is very good from Janair, but it doesn't really matter so much when we're talking about 10,000 gold advantage. Cannon Minion keeps bashing away. Anyone who tanks for Arrow is going to lead to, at least a fifth of the turret damage coming down. He's happy to tank it up himself. And eventually this turret will fall for Janair Green Wings.
Yep. So they get the position, tanks in the front, saplings down for the slow, and just dodging away from that death ray. Arrow just takes the lantern out, Peekaboo, already prepped for the retreat. And that is 2 easy inhibitors off of a great Baron push from KT Rolster.
That's the only place where Chaser is satisfied about this game is there's been no kills for him to participate in, so his overall statistic hasn't changed. Sometimes you have to think about
true.
number 1, Monte Cristo. You know what I'm saying?
Chaser's kill contribution. It's like, I just got to hold out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Damn.
There's nothing else. I mean, Chaser especially, nothing else he can be selfishly or team happy about. I mean, it's not his fault. Other problems snowballed. Basically, Kuzan's mistake or Peekaboo's individual brilliance spilled over into Jinair's jungle, and Score bodied him the whole game.
Yeah, and this is something that we've seen from SK Telecom too, is that you give them that one first blood or something like that, and there's virtually no hope of coming back into the game. And there certainly hasn't been for Jinair. This is how you play League of Legends with an incredible snowball.
Yeah, they threw the textbook out for level 1, but certainly textbook once they had this big advantage. They've already got an inhibitor in top lane, so the bottom one's the bust to get. They're going to maybe try a desperate engage.
No, but Nogday is just taken out with the lantern, and they've got nothing left. Score still on the side. They're just going to power on through this turret. There's the box, catches Kuzan. Another hook onto Che, gets another kill for Arrow, and they keep on moving forward. Jack will fall in the end. Double kill for Arrow, and they say, screw this inhibitor. We're just going straight for the Nexus. That's going to be it. A sub 30-minute victory for KT Rolster as they absolutely blast the Jinair Green Wings in Game 1 of this series.
Lucky number 13 for KT Rolster. 13-0, 3-0 in Dragons. Okay, all tied up in turrets for part of that game, but in the end, KT Rolster, off the back of some Peekaboo brilliance, blow Jinair away.
Peekaboo is so good. Holy cow. I don't know if you can let him have Thresh. He just is too much of a playmaker on that champion. He can ruin your entire team. He plays so well in those team fights. Well, that's a tough loss. I wonder if we'll see GBM next game. Of course, Kuzan's penchant for pushing forward was part of that first blood, for sure. He played aggressively. He tried to get those Raptors and then kept playing forward, so.
KT had the scouting report, put him to the sword, and now we're going to see in Game 2 whether